Welcome back to On the Record. We're here at the Autotask Community Live Show in Florida, and I'm here with Patrick Burns and with Kevin Donovan. So, guys, what's going on? The industry seems to be really picking up. A lot of excitement going on, especially in the spaces around managed services and cloud. What do you see happening?
So you bet, Robert. What's happening is, as we all know, the consumption of technologies just continues to increase, particularly in the small business space. But also the patterns and the model for delivering consumption is changing. So there's this huge array of new technologies, cloud-based services, very effective business-based solutions, and that is a source of opportunity for MSPs. They sit in between the vendors and the end clients to deliver, train, advise customers on these. And so we have a business management platform, and that's something that sort of manages and creates efficiency and productivity around delivering those things so that they can focus on adding value to customers. And so kind of from a product development standpoint, we're just looking at what are all the ways that we can support that. We can enable MSPs to take advantage of that opportunity.
Okay, so right now, if you look at the industry, less than 20% of all VARs have, or at least in North America, have made that jump to just be a managed service provider. So I'll flip this one over to you as a salesperson. Is it because they've missed the boat, or is it because they're afraid of it, or they don't like change, or do you think it's just not needed for most of them?
I think it's kind of hard to really maybe answer that one. The way I'd approach it is there's a lot of disruption in the market, so they're going to have to make that move or shift, or else they'll be I think people come in and extinct. Give you an example. I'll give you maybe two perspectives. One is you look at the print services guys. What we're finding is they're really trying to move into the managed service space, because if they don't, the guys that are in the MSPs right now, if they can add print to their lineup, they can actually make these guys extinct, as you just said. On the flip side, for MSPs, it's a great way to offer another offering. So he who controls the office kind of wins. And our view is because of clouds, the advent of cloud services, there's less and less barriers to entry, so there's more and more companies moving into that space. On the flip side, to kind of put into perspective of a story, when we talk to some of our clients, we ask them about how they're approaching it, and everyone kind of uses the term trusted advisor, and I think it's kind of overused.
Hold on. I own the rights to Trusted Business Advisor.
Is that you?
Yeah.
All right, we got to talk.
I'll start you. How many millions?
That's right. Well, we'll work it out later after the bar. But so one of the things we're looking at in terms of when you say the word trusted advisor, what does that mean? How do I boil it into a story? And the view is, you look at some of the guys that we work with today, some of the MSPs that are our customers, they'll walk into their customers, if you will, and they'll say, what is your strategy? And quite frankly, the SMB market's saying to them, you're my strategy. I don't know. So to us, that's really what trusted advisor is. So we think that, to get specifically to your question, those who aren't playing in that space, they'll become obsolete over time. And our view is how do we help our customers become that trusted advisor by allow them to kind of understand what services they serve today well to their customers, how do they cross-sell those opportunities, and how do they stay current within their customer base.
So a couple of years ago, and I agree with you, but a couple of years ago, you would go out to these events and you were talking about pure play. And I'm not saying you and you particularly, but everybody was talking about a pure play, be an MSP, don't sell anything else. That's gone away. Why?
I think really just kind of that macro trend. There's so many different type of products, type of delivery. When you talk about 20% pure play, there are far more MSPs that are IT service providers that are delivering some services that way. There was a report that just came out from Forrester, an overview specifically of the MSP industry, that said 60% of all small businesses in North America are consuming managed services. Again, maybe not all, but some. So I think it's about what are the different ways to establish your value and your relationship with the customer, and then react and adjust to their needs.
Yeah, but when you look at that, when they talk about that, if I have a smartphone and I phone in for service, that's really a managed service. So it depends on how you really define it.
We'll use telco as an example.
Sure.
I'd argue if you looked at pure play, what if certain ALEX or CLEX or carriers stayed to just voice and they didn't look at voice and data? So you look at the triple threat that occurred in telco, that's really kind of what you're seeing here in this space right now.
So let's suppose that I'm a small VAR and I wanna stay in this business. How do you get into it now? Is it too late?
Not at all. I mean, really, the emergence of all these new solutions just creates opportunity. So, define a strategy. And again, it's about having that direct relationship with the end customer and delivering technology enabling business solutions.
So, okay, let's take me for example. Okay, so I decide I don't want to run ChannelLine anymore. I want to get a real job, and I want to become a managed service provider and offer services. But my technology capabilities is when I turn on my phone, I pray that it turns on, and I feel like, wow, I accomplished something today. Could I go in and become a managed service provider?
That's actually the magic of what's happening right now, which is you don't need to build and own all the infrastructure. So the vendors, the manufacturers have that infrastructure. You're really sales and marketing, advising, and then aftermarket services. And you don't need to own your own NOC, build your own sort of cloud infrastructure. You can just deliver these solutions to clients.
So, Kevin, we'll put it back into your place. Let's say that right now you had a choice and it was a one-man shop and you had two choices. You could pick one or the other. One of them is a great tech guy and the other one's a great salesman or a great businessman, let's say. Which would you take?
So you're asking a sales guy what he would do?
He would take both.
No, you got to take. Well, I think you have to have the foundation of the technology person to really support the client. But I think once you scale it, so use NOC as a way maybe to scale services, I think then you can really invest in the sales side. So to me, it's a kind of combination of depending on what the company's view is. If you want to be a lifestyle business, or if you really want to grow in a meaningful way, you have to scale through sales. But how do you support that? I think the big issue you're going to see too, that we all kind of talk about is retention, because now that we bring in new competitors into the market, is how do you stay current so you can actually maintain your base? But I would start with a technician, and I'd scale it on the sales side.
So what would your answer be to them if they asked you that question? How do you keep a customer?
Before you,
Okay, no, you can
from a
answer.
retention standpoint, or
Yeah.
I'd look at it in terms of how they managing customers today. Is it are they doing audits? Do they know how they're using their products? Are they doing regular reviews? Are they doing quarterly reviews, monthly reviews? Do they know what services they're using? And I think I think there comes a point in time where it starts with a transaction, but where do you cross that chasm when you really understand their business? And I think the best way to do it is if you sat down with your client and said, we're going to take a look or do an audit of your 3-year, let's just say, your IT footprint and where you want to go. How well do they know that, and can they help them define it? I think it's a great way to start.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just think it's about understanding their business and being indispensable, providing something unique on top of that technology. You're not just selling technology, you're delivering business solutions that are enabled by technology.
So I know I'm doing the interview, but here, do you want to hold that so I can talk for a minute? But no, on a serious note, like we went out and we do own the name Trusted Business Advisor, and we got it because we have a council of about 1,000 people, and we went out there and we asked them, and for different names and so on, and then we ended up going out and putting it out to our database. We got 24 answers back for the 10 top 10 techs, and of those 2,400 that came back, 100% of them said trust the business advisor. And the thing that really surprised me was one of them was also trusted business IT advisor, and not one person wanted that. And I think that what it's showing us is that they realize out there that they have to be more in tune with the customer, and which is a good thing. Like, I mean, we're no longer selling beautiful computer rooms for the sake so that they can show their customers around. We're showing them solutions.
You bet.
How do you help in that? How does Autotask play in there?
So again, for an MSP or an IT solution provider who's moving into that model, you've got to understand this sort of ecosystem of solutions, decide what you're going to sell, learn how to deliver it. But there's a lot of operational process that is involved in delivering those things. So Autotask is a system that allows you to automate everything, to store all your data. And then on a more kind of strategic level, you can understand what your costs are, your profitability, can make better long-term decisions about the business. So I think, there's this large array of services, how do you manage your ability to deliver and optimize and be profitable, and you do that with a system like Autotask.
Okay, so I want to get more into it, and you're the product manager, so I can ask you every question possible. But the reality is that most of the VARs out there, and when I talk to them, especially when I get into the smaller shows, where like smaller as in the people who are 1 and 2 people companies, you talk to them about your service, and they go, and they just sort of walk away. They don't understand it. What do you mean by back-end services? Exactly. Like, what type of services do you provide for them?
What does the application do, the product?
Yeah.
So it's sort of foundationally, I would say, it is the ability to manage its operational effectiveness. So scheduling, dispatch, sales management, making sure that you're not missing any appointments, capturing all that time. Then the next layer on top of that is how do you optimize that activity? So automating repeatable processes, getting more utilization, understanding what things are happening when. And then kind of the next level up, getting more strategic, all of this information in one system. So through reporting, dashboards, just again, understanding and making better decisions about the business.
So in other words, what you're giving them is the capability to operate like a professional business.
It's a business management platform. And to be honest with you, it may not be the right fit for every 1 or 2 man shop, but I can tell you we have plenty of them that understand that value and can scale and build their business. They may start that way, but with a system like Autotask, you can build your business quicker and grow to 5, 10 employees, etc.
So the first thing that I don't agree with you that you've said so far, for either one of you, is I think it is for everybody. Like, I really don't understand how they can come into the business unless they're a person who loves to go home at night and do all these procedures. I guess that would be the one exception, but
I think from a value proposition standpoint, yes, it's for everyone. But I was more responding to your observation that they don't all agree with that. They don't all see it right away.
Well, no, I don't think they don't agree that they need your product. I think they don't understand what the product really does. And because they're not running a business properly, they don't understand how important these things are. And like when you go out to sell, when they say no, I realize they all say yes to you at some point. But, well, they must, because Autotask is really growing fast. But seriously, what type of response do they give you when they want to say no?
I think there's a couple ways to look at it. If you do, depending on the size of the business, so I'd say, to your point earlier, on some of the smaller ones, the question becomes, do they understand their workflows? Do they have a view of where they want the business to be, let's just say 3 to 5 years? Do they understand operationally where they are? And then how are they going to grow against that? If they have that, it's kind of an easier discussion. Then the discussion becomes, what's the alternative? Is it a homegrown solution, or is it something like ours? I'd argue as you go upstream and you start looking at several lines of business, where it's a much more pronounced business, if you will, I think that's an easier conversation because they're used to consuming technology. They use technology to automate or augment, quite frankly, their strategy. And I think, so in terms of value proposition, I think it's, in my selling experience, a PSA tool is probably one of the easiest sales in the sense that the value proposition is easily understood. So to your point, yeah, anyone could use it. The question becomes, are they ready for it? Is their business prepared for it? Are they really willing to put in the workflows or change the business so they can actually have the technology kind of support the workflows? That's where really the give is.
But if I was a VAR and I want to make that move to managed services, but they tell me no, what would be an actual reason why they say no? Is it the cost? Is it the effort of changing things over? Or is it just simply that they just can't get their head around why they should do it?
I would say probably the first two you probably hear the most often. I think people get it. The question becomes, from a timing standpoint, I think the biggest issue we have for smaller guys is the commitment to going through an implementation process. So these poor guys are running the business, they're selling it, they're the lead technician. There's only so much time in the day. So if they have to choose between automating their business and actually doing the work, that can be an issue now and again. But if guys that can get over that hump, those are the ones that are actually more successful early on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why would you want to do something yourself over and over and over and over again and miss so much of the stuff and not do your billings properly and just everything when there's something out there that will do it all for you?
I agree. And I think it's, and then from a pricing standpoint, the question becomes, if you have their lead technicians that are doing multiple internal things, like maybe managing a homegrown system, if we can make them more profitable by focusing them on working with customers, over time that ROI will be realized. The question is that conversation, are they ready for that conversation? Do they see that right away, or do you work through kind of an ROI so you can kind of help them think through that? But I'd argue that most times when we're talking to prospects, they're considering it some magnitude. The questions become, can we support the specific workflow questions that they have?
Yeah, well, you know what, I think at some point, and you said this at the beginning, sum up with it, and you can ask any, or put in any comments you want, but I think that over time, there'll be a few people out there, like the really small ones who have a couple of small customers, and they still want to do all this break fix and all this stuff. There'll be a few of them left, but for the most part, it's going to become people who are running a business like the business should be doing with the tools that they need to have. And if they don't do it, they won't be able to compete.
They'll be the ones who become extinct at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think maybe the biggest takeaway from hopefully this event is when you're selling or consuming cloud services, if it's mission critical, one of the things that we want to kind of help educate people on is how well can the vendor support the MSP, and then how well can the MSP downstream support their customers. So our view is, if you're really going to support or buy or sell a mission critical cloud-based application in a meaningful way, some of the questions we think that people should ask are, do they own their own equipment? What are the guaranteed uptimes? What do they have in place in terms of data security? I think those are some of the start of the questions that we're seeing more and more as we branch out globally. So I think from our perspective, one of the things that we like to kind of work on clients is, how important are those to you? If it's a commodity-based thing that you're using for a project, we might not be the right fit, but if it's a mission-critical application, those are the sorts of conversations we're in. So it's almost, you're seeing certain people that are, they have a view in terms of what cloud services is and how you consume it. I think that's becoming more and more the conversation.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much for coming out on the record. It was a pleasure meeting you, and
Thanks, Robert.
I hope you'll both be
Thank
back.
you, Robert. We enjoyed it.